Here we go. Data is being sent out to the internet. And it's saying we want to do another day, internet. There we go. Yeah, the stream's healthy. The stream's healthy and wise. That's what we're being told. And it's beautiful. And he saw that it was good. It looks like the internet's given us another chance. Let me just make sure everything's completely booted up. And it's going out there. And yep, here we are. We're here. We're here. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Good day. Good morning. If you're in my time zone, good day in the future. If you're in Australia or somewhere like that and it's the future, how is the future? We made it another day. I'm happy to see that. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. We got a lot of fun stuff today. First of all, shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. It's a nice tea shop run by a lefty and friend of the show, Jeffrey. And you can get their tea in wholesale right now amidst the pandemic. So please do show them some love. Now's a good time for tea. It's always a good time for tea because tea's great. But now, even more so than usual, a great time for tea. They have a wonderful selection. Some of their raspberry pecan is one of my personal favorites. They also got some killer black teas. And, I like black teas the best because it has the highest caffeine concentration. And I'm addicted. So ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. Also, TriEdgeOil.com. So Trendiest Dabbers changed their name to TriEdgeOil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. And they make some pain oil that does amazing things. You rub this pain oil on your joints, and it's very helpful. You guys know it has done wonders for my neck. I got a bad car accident in 2013, and this oil has helped my neck more than anything else ever has. That's the honest to God truth. So TriEdgeOil.com. Check it out if you're looking for some pain oil. It really does wonders. And maybe you're thinking, Ron, can I take CBD? I want to just take it. I want to ingest it. Do you got me covered? Yes, I do. RareNaturalsCBD.com. That's with an S. RareNaturals, plural, CBD.com. You can get some CBD that's meant for ingestion. You put it in your drink, or you put a little dab under your tongue. You can even take it rectally if you want. Nobody's judging you. Take it however you want. Have a couple little drops. It's relaxing. It's soothing. It's great after a big workout. Just some nice, relaxing CBD that you can take. RareNaturalsCBD.com. A bottle will take you a long way. And here's the best part. If you go to their website and use the promo code Lucy at checkout, that's LUCY, Lucy. You use the promo code Lucy at checkout and you get 30% off. How cool is that? That's RareNaturalsCBD.com. And finally, the Civvy app, CIVVY app.com. It is an app that compiles civic information for you in a compartmentalized way. It also tells you where your political leanings are. It shows you which candidates align most with your political leanings. You do a questionnaire of a bunch of questions, and it tells you these are the candidates that are most aligned with you. Guys, turns out I'm not compatible with anyone. My compatibility with every single person was extremely low. I'm glad this wasn't a dating app. So it's a really interesting app. And it's also trying to be a hub for online news. So you can go to the news section and you're going to see a bunch of segments from all the creators you know and love, including yours truly. There's some Get Your News On with Ron stuff out there. So please do check that out. Civvy app, CIVVY app.com. So, I mean, look at all the things you can do. You can just chill while drinking a drink with some CBD oil in it, while rubbing some other topical oil on your joints, while checking out an app and finding out information and thinking, oh, thanks for that, Ron. So there you go. Boom. Check all that out. Without further ado, I got a guest today. So this guy is over on the ones and twos on the Convo couch, and he's here today because he made some pretty amazing discoveries. Please welcome to the show, Johnny Tsunami of the Convo couch. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, Ron. How's it going?
I'm good, man. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here with you and Lucy, of course.
Yeah, she's running around somewhere. She has this amazing newfound energy ever since the quarantine happened. Like, she gets unlimited playtime now, so she's just you know, she lifts weights these days. She has a prison tattoo. I don't know how she got it. She's just in tip top shape, you know. So she's run. I actually have to play before every show. I have to like play with her for like a while because she has like so much energy now that she's like, I just ate, I got it, and I'm like, all right, and I got to play with her. Otherwise, she'd be like jumping on my face the entire show.
Exactly.
But so you went to Palmdale, and you and Tina Desiree Berg, and you guys found some stuff. Let's go to the video, and then we're gonna break down. Well, first, tell me. Actually, let's start with you. First, tell me what exactly happened. What happened? You went to Palmdale, where, of course, there was the recent hanging, and what did you find?
Yes. So over the course of about like what 4 days, I think it was that Tia and I both drove out to Palmdale, which is about 60 miles from Pasadena. We went to see the protest on Saturday, which was the hanging, the suicide, the lynching
Right.
happened on Wednesday. Very early in the morning is when it got called in, about 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m. And so there was a protest Saturday, and we covered that. And then we went back the following Wednesday on the 17th, and that's when we went and did a deep investigation of what cameras are available, which stores are willing to talk to us, and you know, if there's a possibility that we can gather any information and anything that the sheriff's department might have missed. And it turns out that yeah, we got some footage and we've learned some information that it's ridiculous. It looks like the conclusion is basically that the sheriff's department is really not, they don't care about this case, or like they're not taking the actions that should be taken. If I was doing an investigation with the resources that I have, that a sheriff's department has, if I really cared about someone getting hanged,
Getting the truth. So for anyone that maybe isn't as familiar with this, I should I kind of assumed like everyone watching is probably already familiar with what this is, but just in case anyone's not. So there was a black man found hung in Palmdale, California. He was hanged, and they just ruled it a suicide. And this is going on throughout the country. And they're just ruling all of these suicides. There's little to no evidence indicating that it is a suicide. And they're not really digging further. And I personally believe that these are lynchings. I think that's what's going on. I think a lot of people believe that they're lynchings. But it's one of those things we're going to need a lot of proof, because the cops don't want to investigate this. And you have to, it doesn't take that much sleuthing to find out why they don't want to investigate this. A, they don't want to do the work. And B, they're based it in systemic racism. So they just want to write this off as a lynching and be done with it. And who knows how sinister this is? I mean, there could even be some cooperation for all we know. We don't know. We don't know. So, you know, I'm not going to make a claim like that, but
not making that claim.
It's possible, though. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that needs to be looked into. So let's check out the video. What is some of the stuff? What's some of the stuff that you found that was kind of the most, oh, wow, why didn't the cops at least look at this?
Yeah, when we spoke with the store manager of a corner store there that has a camera, and they had the footage, that it took the police officers about like 3 to 4 days to even talk to them, and then it took them like 3 or 4 days to even grab the footage from a USB stick.
So we don't even know if they watched it. We don't even know if the cops. So 3 to 4 days go by. This person was hanged. 3, 4 days go by. They're like, well, let's see if maybe there's some footage somewhere. And then they're like, okay, so there is some footage somewhere. Another 3 days go by, correct? So they find out there's footage. They take another 3 days. Then they show up with a USB stick, and they're like, okay. And we don't even know if they've seen this at this point.
Yeah.
They just showed up. Wow. All right. So let's go to the video and check this out.
Guess what?
That's new
footage that we were able to obtain. And
so where should I go to? Where?
Yeah, so you might want to skip. Let's see. So in the beginning, I kind of go over the whole story of how we got there Saturday. So if you keep going, I showed the map view. I don't know if you want to take a look at the map view. The map view is kind of cool, but
so this is just like the view of Palmdale.
The city hall. So you can see down there in the lower left, that's the park.
Okay.
And then directly above the park is there's a cafe store right there. There's a bunch of stores, and then to the right of that is the corner store right there. Yes.
So this is the corner store.
Yes.
Now where did the actual hanging take place?
Right in the park on a tree.
Okay, so right around here, basically. Is that correct?
A little bit deeper in the park.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So basically, this footage wouldn't necessarily be able to show the action itself, but it could show like who was driving by, what was going on around the scene. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, or well, not maybe cool is a weird way to put it, but good find. All right. So all right. So here's the map view. So what is this?
So yeah, if we keep going, that's another store that we knocked at the window there, and I didn't know at the time when I was filming because you can't see because it's like completely black and reflective. But there was someone in there, and you can see it if you play that. Then there's somebody in there, and they completely ignored us because I knocked. I knocked. Has that been there that whole time?
Yeah, I got photo of the one Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know what's ironic, real quick, and then we'll go back to this video in a second. That's an Amazon Ring camera. Amazon has all these deals with law enforcement that we don't even know the details about. They have all these like deals with law enforcement where they're going to provide them information to basically, do surveillance on an entire neighborhood in most cases. Because if everyone has an Amazon Ring, guess what? You got the entire neighborhood just at your fingertips. Here's a for instance where there's actually a use for them to look at this footage. Here's a for instance where it would be good for police to look into this footage because someone was hanged and it can't be bothered.
I did not know about that, Ron. I didn't know
if police officers.
Police.
Oh yeah. And it's shady and we don't know all the details about it. It's being kept under wraps. They won't be transparent about what's in it. But yeah, Amazon Ring is not good. And here's one case where the cops looking at it could actually be useful because a murder happened or, well, a suspicious hanging happened. And they can't be bothered. All right, so let's play the video.
So me being me, it's really dark. They have something dark. I try to get with the camera. You can see there's somebody in there. I had no idea. There's somebody in there. So they totally ignored us.
Oh, yeah.
They totally ignored us.
So why did they, like, what was that store, by the way? Like, what was it?
So on the outside of the store, there's nothing. It says nothing. There's like literally nothing on the store. But if you try and do like a little Google search of that location, that address, it says that it's they sell koi fish stuff or like they sell fish stuff on eBay.
Okay. So did you knock and were you like, hey, I need some fish stuff. Let me in. I need fish stuff. Come on.
We were there with like two big ass cameras, so I'm sure they were intimidated.
Well, you're like, I got to film the fish first. I'm buying for a big fish enthusiast. He can't be here today, so I'm filming the fish. And then if he likes it, he'll say yay. And then I'm gonna buy your whole freaking inventory.
Pretty much. No, yeah, I don't know. It's conflicting. It's either a fish store. Or it says there was the cafe owner next to it said that they manage a bunch of little stores. So I don't know what that meant. So
yeah, well maybe maybe it's just like a mob front, and that's why they didn't let you in. Who knows? Yeah, we don't know. All right, so here's another map view. All right, so what's going on here?
So this is the footage of when we talked to part store owner of the photography store there, and he basically tells us everything. Basically tells us when the police came. He called them detectives, and how long it took, and then he showed concern for why it took so long.
All right, so let's watch this.
No tiene otro. Pero es que iban a traer un chip, no sé si para grabar esto. No sé, pero mi hijo dijo que ya habían venido los detectives, creo.
¿Y cuándo vinieron? ¿Era cuando pasó? ¿El día que pasó? ¿Era?
Oh, you got some good Spanish, Johnny. Good
Oh
job.
my gosh. I only
Sounded
played
good.
I only played the Spanish. That was good. I had some really bad Spanish at one point.
Well, you know what, man? I mean, I speak Italian conversationally, and it's like when you're not fluent in something, you still have those moments where you just freeze and you're just like, I forget how to say hello. I don't know what to do. I don't think I speak this language at all. I have to run away now. Like you have those moments, especially in like a kind of high pressure sitch like this, where it's like, this is heavy stuff. All right, so here we go. You got the transcription here.
No, mucho después.
Move your mouse. We'll be able to see that.
So he's saying much later. Like you're saying, when did they come? He's saying much later. Like they came way later, and we're saying we have this footage.
3 días, 4 días.
Póngale 4 días más o menos.
4 days.
cámara firma de 24 horas así o se queda todo?
Me imagino que sí, porque luego cuando nosotros nos vamos, mi hijo dice que dejemos todo, pero mi hijo es el que más le puede dar más información porque él es el de aquí.
Okay. No es tanto distancia, pero de repente se puede ver un carro que viene aquí,
Exacto.
por ahí.
So now you're seeing cars come down the street. Is that what's happening here, Johnny?
That's the live view of the camera feed. So basically, what I saw there when I first saw that was, oh wow, okay, what we're able to see from the footage that they could give us if
Right.
they're going to give it to us, right? And he did say he didn't know where it films 24 hours. And I just want to clarify that it only films when there's movement in the camera. So it's like a movement activated camera.
Okay, interesting. So if something was going on, it would capture it.
It captures cars passing by. It captures people walking by. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is basically where you uncovered, hey, the cops weren't interested. Did the cops approach this guy first, or did he have to actually go to them?
Well, see, I didn't want to ask him that, but
Okay.
I think they approached him. I think
All right. So they did eventually approach him, but the whole thing was very, very drawn out. And this is the type of footage he has access to in here. So is this street right here? Is this sort of like where the park starts?
So you know how I was talking to you about the cafe and the fishing, fishing eBay thing?
Yeah.
Fish Stings LLC. That's the parking lot of the of those stores. So then on the other side of that parking lot is the park.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so this is where you find out with this guy. So do you get like actual footage here? Like where does that come in?
That comes in later, a little bit later. Keep going. Right there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like a long segment though, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, we'll play some of it, and then you'll just we'll kind of summarize it. But let's watch some of it.
Same day, 20 minutes later, it looks like a different car pulled in from the left side here. And then you see a person walk. Well, it looks like he was running, jogging. Let me replay that one for you guys. So there's a car. I know. So that one's at 10:24. So this is right before the big. I want you to watch over which here, I thought was damning. Over here. I didn't think it was damning, but it's. I think we also see someone running from right to the left. Could they have been going on a jog, perhaps? But he was 100% running. The camera does not film slowly or quickly. It's real time. So let's watch this. There they are. Right there. Following my mouse. There's a person that's running across the street. So
wow.
The camera cuts out. And that was it.
And you can't make out the details of that person. Or at least, I mean, I certainly couldn't.
Just a dark figure.
Just a dark figure running by, and then a car. And it looks like the way the car is driving, it kind of looks like, here, let's go back a little bit. It kind of looks like, they're circling, right? Like, is that, here, let's.
Well, it looks like he was running, jogging.
The guy was running.
Let me replay that one for you guys. That car, so there's a car. I know, there's a, let me do it slowly. I see. Okay, I want you to watch over here, okay? Watch over here. And We also see someone running from right to the left. Could they have been going on a jog? Perhaps. But he was 100% running. The camera does not film slowly or quickly. It's real time. So let's watch this. There they are. There they are. Right there. Following my mouse. Following my mouse. There's a person that's running across the street. So then the camera cuts out.
They look like they're running deliberately. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like they're just going on a jog. It looks like they have.
It wasn't really runner's form.
Right. Like it looks like there's a sense of urgency. Like something's happening. Like something's going on. Not just like, because usually like when you're out for a jog, you're kind of just looking straight ahead. You're usually you don't just randomly diagonally shoot across the street. Usually, you know what I mean? Like you're on a sidewalk, you're like you have an agenda, you have a pathway that you go, especially if you do it at night, because if you're a regular night jogger, usually you have, reflective clothing on. Usually you go a certain route because safety is on your mind. This does not look like someone going for a jog. This looks like someone that is doing something. Could this be connected? I have no idea. But it's certainly peculiar footage.
Right. And then like I think there was a clip before that shows the car pulling in from the other way. But after it then is what's really.
All right. So where, like here?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening here?
Okay. Yeah. So I think this is when we see the car that pulled in, it parks.
All right. So let's play it.
Red light there. You saw it right here. There's a red light of the car because this is directly right after the last one where that car pulled in from the left. Mm-hmm. And then if we pay attention, right there, someone is walking across it. You can barely see it. It's really hard to see. Someone is walking into the park at 10:25.
And this is the day of.
This is the night of. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
so
June
there's
9th,
a car
and
parked.
The hanging got called in at the 10th.
Okay.
In the previous clip, a car had pulled in. So we see we see a car. A minute later, this clip plays because of the car moving in front, but that car is still parked in that parking lot. And then you see somebody, dark figure, walk towards the park at 10:25 p.m. during Corona time.
So something's going on. All right. So around the time of the hanging, with the footage we just watched, a car parked, someone gets out of it going into the park, and another car is circling around. That's what we just watched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And cops took about a week to decide this was something they should look at.
Pretty much.
Wow.
And so, Ron, I mean, if I had the power of the police, right, I can get the footage from the apartments that shows a whole nother angle. And then those apartments show like a whole like street where someone can enter from, right? So that's like one port of entry right there where the apartments show. And then you add it with this footage from the store, which shows three other ports of entries, because there's about like 4 or 5 ways to get into City Hall. And then the Ring video, which could have showed an up close of that person walking by.
You got to show up again and say you're the fish guy. Be like, look, I'm looking for the best fish. This camera is to show my boss. He has a fish TV show. And so were you guys able to obtain any, like, did you try for the apartment footage? I mean, that would be a whole, that'd be difficult.
Yeah, we tried calling them, no avail. I think Tina sent an email. I'm not sure. But it sound, I don't think they would give us the footage, but
no, this is remarkable. This is the country we're living in, where YouTubers, through their own merit and through their own determination, are doing better investigative work than the police, who are compensated to do this type of thing. And it's all because they don't care. At the very least, I mean, this is at least gross negligence. At worst, just systemic racism in play. And it's a little bit everything. I think. I mean, you see stuff like this happen all the time where because they don't want, especially, I mean, Palmdale's not a very huge place, right? It's not like the biggest town. They don't want murders hanging over their heads. They don't want that. So they want to, I mean, so their first instinct is like, let's write it off as a suicide because no one wants that. The mayor doesn't want it. They don't want that hanging over their head the next time there's an election. City council doesn't want it. The police don't want it because they actually have to do work. So they want to say, oh, yeah, the person killed themselves. Case closed.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, or the sheriff department is involved themselves. And
right. I mean, it's possible. I mean, we don't know, but
we don't know, but I don't know. It's something to think about because apparently there's a lot of police and sheriffs who are part of, white supremacist groups, and they follow. We were looking at somebody who was following like these white supremacist people. That was a police chief. So it's interesting. I don't know.
Interesting is one way to put it, Johnny. It's something. I mean, and where we're going next is actually connected to all this. But before we close off on this, first of all, let people know now where they can go to watch all of this footage. Like, where do they got to go to watch the extensive footage on YouTube?
Right. So you can actually go on the Convo couch. We actually put up a clip, but it's also available on True Rebel Network, which is right here. That's how you find it. If you type that in, it's the black and white logo with the fist, and it says True Rebel Network. Subscribe there. That's my personal channel there that I've been putting I just got this new camera, and I've been using it to record on the ground, and it's making a big difference. So if you go there, we'll see the full footage, and I kind of chopped it up a little bit so it's cleaner also.
Well, hopefully, I mean, it's going to take boots on the ground to try to uncover this stuff, and not just in Palmdale, but throughout the country, because, I personally believe all these are lynchings. I know a lot of people believe all these are lynchings. We just have to have undeniable proof, because otherwise the powers that be, they're not going to do anything about it, because they'd rather not do anything about it for a wide range of reasons that range in how sinister they actually are.
And in my most recent interview with a millennial activist, she said how it was disgusting and offensive how they ruled it a suicide, because what black man is going to hang themselves in the same manner that they've been historically?
Yeah. Well, I know I've seen a lot of people say that. A lot of people are saying that, where they're just like, it wouldn't happen. Like a lot of, even black friends of mine that I've talked to about this, they're like, yeah, no, it wouldn't happen. It would not happen. This was a lynching. And yeah. So here's a little bit of something that connects here that's a little bit, you're talking about white supremacy in law enforcement, which this has been going on a long time. First of all, systemic racism is built in to the police as we know it. Like it's built in. That's part of their agenda. And not to mention, simultaneously along with that, you have these organizations, the neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the KKK, and, the footage that we see from protests or what have you, of the people with the ridiculous tattoos and the shape, just yelling stuff that, look like they probably read at about a third grade level at best. That's the stuff we see on the internet and on TV. But in reality, there's a lot of David Dukes out there who have the suit on and are trying to just blend into society and infiltrate various institutions to serve their agenda. One of those institutions they've been infiltrating for decades now, probably even longer than decades, is the police force. And again, when you have systemic racism built in at the base, it ain't that hard to do, because they're not screening you. They're not screening you all that much. If you're a KKK member, they're probably not going to know. And if they do know, there's a good chance they ain't going to care. So, that, and Anonymous revealed years ago at Ferguson, Anonymous revealed that there were a bunch of KKK members with badges and guns And how does that not immediately disqualify somebody? That should disqualify you. The job that we're told of a police officer is to serve and protect. It's a bunch of BS, but that's the line we're fed. So you'd think if they were at least trying to keep up the facade, they would say, well, if you have an ideology where you don't think all people are worth serving and protecting, you don't get to have this job. You think at the very least they'd be like, well, if you're in the KKK, you can't be a police officer. But nope, still happening. Well, hacktivists are really back, and they're really kicking in full throttle. That is alive and well. And here's something that happens. Millions of documents, over 200 U.S. police agencies published in what's referred to as a Blue Leaks trove. So there was recently a document dump of a bunch of information containing the police. Millions, here's the article from Ars Technica, millions of law enforcement documents, some showing pictures of suspects, bank account numbers, and other sensitive information have been published on a website that holds itself out as an alternative to WikiLeaks. DDO Secrets, short for Distributed Denial of Secrets, publishes what it said were millions of documents stolen from more than 200 law enforcement groups around the country. And let's see, dates on the most recent documents were from earlier this month, suggesting the hack that first exposed the documents happened in the last 3 weeks. The documents, which were titled Blue Leaks, were published on Friday, the date of this year's Juneteenth holiday, celebrating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the Confederacy. Blue Leaks had special significance in the aftermath of a Minneapolis police officer suffocating a handcuffed black man to death. Over the weekends, critics of police abuse took to social media to celebrate the leak and display documents that purportedly came from it. Now, here's what some of the documents include. An FBI document identifying Twitter posts that threatened law enforcement supporters' safety as of May 2020. Motorcycle gangs that opportunistically use protests to pose as members of the Antifa movement. So they have infiltration information here. First of all, they have the FBI looking out for the cops and nothing else. They have infiltration proposed by motorcycle gangs and law enforcement personnel. Here, this one's interesting. Tracking potential protesters' use of Snoop Snitch, an app that detects when IMSI catchers are being used to monitor cell phone data.
Whoa, what? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, right. Right.
You have that on your phone?
I don't know. Now I got to find out.
I'm gonna
yeah, we're all gonna have to find out. Yeah. But so that's what's going on here, and they made sure. It's somewhere in the article. It does point out like they made sure that civilians were kept safe. The agenda here was to expose law enforcement and expose corruption in law enforcement, not try to endanger any citizen that has nothing to do with anything. So they tried to make sure that they were cognizant of that while they were dumping this stuff. But so now it's like we have a WikiLeaks dedicated to the police, which is, the way I see it, super needed.
Absolutely. I mean, this is news to me, so thanks for breaking that. I'm gonna have to look into that website. And
yeah, I've not been to the exact website myself either, but
I'm suspect of new WikiLeaks though, because the first one got infiltrated, and then
well, and you don't know exactly who's behind things. I mean, yeah, of course, and that's an important point to bring up. It's like, proceed with caution. Don't be like, okay, we know everything now. Proceed with caution, vet information, source information. But the fact that some leaks are happening that are turning some heads that are hopefully valid and truthful, that's a good thing that we need to see more of.
Oh, absolutely. I wonder who leaked that. I mean, it's probably not too hard to leak it because their software that they use is so old in all government.
That's
agencies.
true. Well, yeah, because you have those things where it's like 9-year-olds were able to hack voting machines and stuff like that. And I remember, which is kind of just loosely related, but I remember when everything was going on here in California, you guys did a lot of stuff over at the Convo couch. And we also those documents that showed how vulnerable and susceptible these machines are. And I know voting machines is a different thing than like the software they're using, but it's all kind of connected along the theme of, yeah, they're using this outdated stuff that people can easily just kind of break into.
Yeah, and then like during Corona, for the payments, for the one-time payments, there was a whole problem because there was a shortage of COBOL programmers
Mhm.
to like fix the websites of all the EDD websites and all the websites like that.
I think, they knew what was coming and they just didn't prepare accordingly. And I think it's just, I mean that whole thing, I mean that was just another for instance of we take care of the ruling class and everyone else we really don't care.
Pretty much.
And this is just another extension of that, like all this stuff. So now you have people taking it into their own hands to try to expose some of the stuff that's going on. And I think, and again, this particular website, DDO Secrets. I'm still learning about this website. I don't know much about it. This is the extent of it. It's just been dropping recently. So of course, proceed with caution, vet your sources, like you always do. But regardless, I think we're going to be finding out a lot more in the coming weeks and months. And I think it's going to be, I think it's worse than people realize. I think that even, the most skeptical of law enforcement, which, I think that's, content creators like us and a lot of people, I think even our minds are going to be blown a little bit. Because I think it is worse than people realize.
I think you're right, Ron. I think you're right. And I mean, you just gotta think about how the police started with slave patrol. So there's that, and then just the killing of all these unarmed black men, and then like the response to the Robert Fuller lynching. And if it had been a white woman, I'm sure it would have been a completely different response.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
if it was white people being lynched across the country, yeah, nothing would have been ruled as suicide yet. Nothing. I mean, they'd be. Yeah, it's really astonishing, and that's why you need. This is why we need whistleblowing so desperately in our world right now, because the police, they can't be reformed. This is just, this is just unreformable. No. This is, it needs to be dismantled. It needs to be defunded. It needs to be abolished and reinvented. We have to just reinvent the way we do this. So I want to talk about the election some, and we'll close out on some election chatter. But first, I got a net neutrality story for you, buddy. This is,
okay.
You guys know me. I'm a big, net neutrality is a huge theme on this show. And net neutrality is the policy that assures that all internet traffic is treated equal. That if you, whether you go to this show or the Convo couch, or you go to Fox News or CNN, it loads the same way. It's treated with the same treatment of traffic. You can't prioritize traffic. You can't throttle different websites. You can't price gouge different entities. Well, in a post-net neutrality world, that has all gone away, and now they're trying to see what they can get away with in a post-net neutrality world. Charter seeks FCC nod to charge video streamers. What's going on here? The telecom giant says the online video market is flourishing, and there's no reason to hold it back from negotiating interconnection agreements with some of the world's largest companies. Charter Communications wants permission to begin charging Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and other streamers for the pleasure of efficiently carrying its traffic. In a petition this past week to the Federal Communications Commission, the nation's second largest provider of cable and TV and internet services cited the flourishing online video marketplace and asked for a sunset of two notable conditions imposed on Charter's 2016 merger with Time Warner and Bright House Networks. Back then, the Obama-era FCC was crafting net neutrality rules. Now, without net neutrality rules, they can do this stuff. So why is this an issue? First of all, they don't need to do this. Like this whole thing that like, well, Netflix is taking up so much traffic. They need to be charged more. No, this is just price gouging. How do I know this? Because whenever a city builds their own internet infrastructure, they are able to offer a service better than what the cable company offers pretty much 100% of the time. And the only time there's an exception to that, it's because their project's not finished. That's the only time. And when they're not finished building their municipal broadband project, they're neck and neck with the cable companies. When they're finished, it's infinitely better. Oh, and by the way, it's cheaper too. So all this data caps, I mean, data caps are complete nonsense. That's just something that these cable companies made up to price gouge more. That's why when AT&T was like, oh, amidst the pandemic, we're going to help you. We're going to lift your data cap. They were just like basically it's just like, oh, it'd be like you go to a restaurant and they're like, hey, remember how we were giving you that surcharge for air and we were limiting the amount of air you were allowed? We lifted that. And now there's no charge for air. You're welcome. The food is still grossly overpriced and of a shittier quality than what we're capable of, but no air surcharge. We care about you. And this is just another, for instance, they're going to try to get more money out of these companies. And you might be thinking, well, gee, Netflix can afford it, Ron. What's the problem? No, the problem is this is where, quote unquote, trickle down actually works. And this is where, you try to get more money out of these companies, Netflix, YouTube, they're just going to reinvent their business model. And who's going to suffer? Content creators like us, independent media on the internet. And the internet, as we know it, is going to look like cable television. And yes, that is possible.
Ron, you're the expert in this net neutrality stuff. I mean, so it never really passed. I mean, it never passed, right? Net neutrality never passed. So they are able to throttle internet speeds.
So what happened was we've had assumed net neutrality since the advent of the internet. Like there was like a clause where it's like, yeah, net neutrality, that's a thing. But it wasn't solidified on the books via FCC law. It was just something that we assumed everyone followed because it made sense for the internet to flourish. You would follow something like that. So we've always had net neutrality. And then what happened was the cable companies eventually realized, oh, we don't actually have to follow this. Digital rights activists have been pleading with the FCC for years to get this on the books, and screw them all. We don't have to follow this. So they took it to court, and it was Verizon and a couple other companies that basically said, we don't want to follow FCC laws. And the court ruled in their favor, saying, yeah, you basically don't have to follow FCC laws. But if the FCC, wink, wink, nudge, nudge FCC, if you designate the internet a utility, which it is a utility in our lives, imagine going through this pandemic, especially without the internet. What would people do? Not just for entertainment purposes, but for information purposes and going about your daily life. You'd be screwed. So if the FCC designated the internet a Title II, then we could get net neutrality cemented on the books into law. And Tom Wheeler and the FCC didn't want to do that. But the public pressure was so much that they had to. And there were so many comments. They crashed the FCC's website. This was like 2014, 2015. Obama at the 11th hour was like, yeah, we should have net neutrality. So they got it on the books. So we got net neutrality cemented into law. Now, again, we've never not had net neutrality. This whole argument, when people say, well, we only had net neutrality for 2 years, the internet hasn't really changed. No, we've always had net neutrality. We just got it cemented into law in 2015 so that we could preserve it. And Trump's FCC, one of the first things they did was dismantle net neutrality. So now without it, you're seeing this kind of thing happen. You're seeing all these mergers between cable companies and content providers. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because they're planning for a future where they dominate the internet, where HBO Max and Disney Plus dominates the internet because everybody else, their video doesn't load anymore because they don't need to follow net neutrality anymore. So unless YouTubers like us can pay these exorbitant fees that Disney Plus can afford and Netflix can afford, we're screwed. We're going to become the low power FM of the internet, meaning like we're not really going to be broadcast and no one's going to be able to get to our content. That's the world they're preparing for. It's a plausible thing. It's very possible. I talk about these issues a lot. Not many people do, but I will take no joy if there is an I told you so moment down the road. And we're telling the generation after us and the generation after us what the internet used to be like. And they're like, really? You mean anyone could just have a show? Yeah. Anyone could just put content out there? Yeah. And it would load the same as Disney and all these. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. It'll be a thing of the past.
So how do we stop that?
You buy ice cream for Nancy Pelosi. You No, there's the good news, Johnny, is there's a number of ways we can fight back, and we're currently fighting back. First of all, there's a multiple approach, and I think every approach is important. First of all, we got to fight for net neutrality at the state level. Here in California, there's a good net neutrality bill that Jerry Brown did sign before he left office that's moving forward. Because of this, the cable companies, their hands are kind of tied as far as what they can do, as far as what they offer consumers in a post-net neutrality world. Because guess what? New York's working on a big net neutrality bill too. If California and New York get it, that's like almost half the customer base in the country. So you're not really going to be able to unroll anti-net neutrality policies if in two juggernaut states you have to uphold net neutrality. So that's some good news. So we got to fight for net neutrality on the state and municipal levels. The other big thing that ends this battle once and for all, building our internet in the cities. This is why I'm a proponent for municipal broadband. This is why I've been showing up to city halls and municipal broadband. You can also refer to it as city-owned internet. It basically means the internet isn't provided to you by some organized duopoly, which, by the way, that's what the cable companies did. They organized a duopoly. That's why our internet is more expensive and shittier than a lot of other places in the world. It's not because we don't have the capability. It's because profit comes first, so they're going to screw you and price gouge you. But when the city builds their own internet, guess what? Everybody from the poorest resident to the mayor and everyone in between wants their porn to load great. So they're going to make sure you get quality frickin' internet. And whenever this is unrolled, again, there was a study that Harvard did along with the Institute of Local Self-Reliance, which is a big proponent for municipal broadband. They help build municipal broadband all across the country. I've collaborated with them on some ideas. I hope to more in the future. They have revealed that city internet is better, faster, and cheaper pretty much 100% of the time. And again, the only time where it's like just as good, it's always cheaper. It's cheaper 100% of the time. Sometimes it's just as good as what the big cable company offers you. And the only time it's even just as good is because it's not finished yet. They're still building it.
Right.
So that's what needs to happen. And that's the only way to end this once and for all. It's kind of like the way I like to look at it. Fighting for good net neutrality policy is holding the front line and making sure they can't dig deeper into a post-net neutrality internet. And then building city-owned internet all across the country, that's ending the war once and for all, because it's taking the internet out of big cable's hands, putting it into the cities where net neutrality will be written into the charter. And guess what? The internet as we know it is going to stay the way it is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So no Google Fiber, municipal internet.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, because it's one of those things. These big companies, you know, and this is one of those issues where we have unlikely allies because Netflix is pro net neutrality. Google is pro net neutrality. Facebook is pro net neutrality. They're not pro net neutrality for the same reasons I'm pro net neutrality or independent content creators are pro net neutrality. Which if you're a content creator on YouTube and you're not for net neutrality, I'm not sure what planet you're on, but like, but you know, nonetheless, it's like we have these unlikely allies. The problem is once they don't have a business incentive to have net neutrality, because again, Google net neutrality helps business for Google. Net neutrality helps business for Facebook. Net neutrality helps Netflix. If it goes away, which they'll just adapt, then they're not going to be for net neutrality anymore. They're not for net neutrality because they want a free and open internet and they want democracy on the internet. They're for net neutrality because, well, this kind of helps us just do our thing.
Avoid headaches in the future, right?
This avoids headaches.
Where they have to invent ways to go around it. I got you.
Yes,
I got you.
This avoids headaches for them. It doesn't help make them bigger. It doesn't help them, you know, it just helps them continue doing what they're doing. You know, why would they want a disruption in the flow of things? So, you know, once the FCC, you know, like an anti-net neutrality FCC, and once, you know, some of these other cable companies find a way to cooperate with them, which again, that's why they're merging. They're merging for that very reason. And it's totally plausible. We could see a Netflix merge with a cable company or something like that. And then all of a sudden they're just like, hey, don't worry about those fees because we're partners now. Well, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's ridiculous that we only have like here in Pasadena, we only got like what, AT&T and Spectrum
Yeah.
to choose from, and they're both shitty. And
Johnny, I'm glad we could go through this together because, I really want to make everybody as miserable about this issue as I am. I really want everybody to be as angry about it and as pissed off about it and to kind of see the significance of it. So here we are.
Important. Thank you for doing that because I know you were pushing for municipal internet. I didn't know it was because that helps net neutrality. Okay.
Well, a lot of people like make it out like they're two separate things, and they're not. I mean, they're really not. I mean, both are very important. I mean, net neutrality policy is very important, but so is just getting the internet out of big cable's hands. It's kind of like, I'll use the war analogy just out of like lack of thinking of a better analogy off the top of my head, but it's kind of like, the cable companies and the anti-net neutrality landscape, like they're intruders and they're shooting bows and arrows at us. Net neutrality is like the shield that protects us from getting hit by those arrows. And then municipal broadband is like the catapult that's going to blow these motherfuckers up.
Or like
save the internet.
It takes their arrows away, right? Like,
yeah,
it takes their supply away.
It's
their
the
weapon
force
away.
field that takes their weaponry away.
Exactly.
And defeats the agenda of taking the internet from us. But so let's do a little bit of election talk, man.
Hell yeah.
So there were some reasons. Oh, here, I want to go here first. So here's a CNN article. And I want to go here for a specific reason. And you're going to see why. So there were some reasons for a little bit of optimism yesterday, I'd say. You saw some and here's what they're saying here over at the CNN. The votes are in, but the jury is still out on a handful of New York's most closely contested races. If the current leaders in New York hold on, progressive newcomers will have successfully knocked off longtime Rep. Elliot Engel and replaced retiring Rep. Nita Lowey, incumbent. All right, blah, blah, blah. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won last night. Now so there were a couple progressives that really turned some heads last night. And here's something interesting that I wanted to point out. This line right here in the CNN article.
Oh my gosh.
Voting goes relatively smoothly in Kentucky. Well, let's see. Let's see if what actually went down. Voting goes relatively smoothly. I can tell by Johnny's response that you too feel like this was kind of a comical sentence that they had the nerve to put in an article. All right, so here's something I found that I'm sure you found as well, Johnny. Here's some footage of people trying to vote in Kentucky last night.
Yep,
they want to vote. They're begging because they want. And by the way, there's other angles to this. There's a bunch of people. It's not just these line of people at the doors. There's a bunch of people behind them that you can't even see how many people are there. They're banging the doors because they want to vote. Charles Booker pleaded with the courts to leave it open for longer, and they got it open for 30 more minutes. People were able to vote. And this race right now between Charles Booker and Amy McGrath, unless you saw something this morning that I haven't seen yet, it's still too close to call. We're not going to know for a little while. But that race is very, very close. But they have done everything they could to try to stifle the vote. Now, for anyone not in the know, Charles Booker is a progressive. He's going up against Amy McGrath, who is a pro-Trump Democrat. And they did everything they could to try to stifle the vote in urban areas, to try to stifle the vote, especially in black neighborhoods, to try to make sure she got through.
This voting center, I believe this is the convention in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the only in-person voting available for all of Louisville, I believe.
Yeah. They stripped it so that there was just the one in-person place, and people right away were just like, "What? Are you kidding?"
And then it closed at 6 p.m.
And they got it open a little while longer, but then they had to tell people, like, stay in line, don't leave. And this is just one of those things, man. You know, and here's what I tweeted. I sincerely hope Charles Booker's wins, which I do. But this is why we desperately need a new party. I mean, this is just one of those things. They're going to try to suppress the vote no matter what. But when you have just the Democratic establishment, it's like you got to go up against all this right out the gate to even have a breathing chance to get into office. And you're going to overcome voter suppression a second time in the general. So it's like you got to beat it twice.
It's just disgusting that this is happening all across the country now. We've seen it in Iowa, New Hampshire, here in California, Texas, Missouri, now Kentucky. This is just completely. This is our democracy. These are our rights.
Democracy in quotes.
This is our right, and they're taking it away from us. We don't live in a democracy, ladies and gentlemen. If our vote doesn't count and they're suppressing you and making you wait 3 hours in line to go vote, it's ridiculous. And I don't know. I think it's time to protest at every congressperson's house. It's time to protest at the election official's house. It's time to protest at Secretary of State Alex Padilla's house, Dean Logan's house.
Yeah.
And then if nothing happens, well then, a peaceful revolution. I forgot the quote. You know the thing. You know the thing.
You know how it goes. Let me put it a different way. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to not have your vote count. It doesn't
exactly.
to channel my inner Joe Biden. Like let me you know the thing. Let me put it a different way. My time's up. No, it's just, and this is why. And you know, I don't want to sound like. I mean, obviously, these grassroots progressives, I'm rooting for all of them. I want them all to do well. I really do. But it's like you're going into an entity that wants to absorb you and co-opt you if you even get a chance to be in office. And they hate you. I mean, it's like they don't want, they're doing everything they can to make sure. They did everything they could to make sure Charles Booker would not win. They did everything they could. So now, you know, if he does advance, which I hope he does, he's going to have to beat that again because, well, now he's going up against Mitch McConnell. So it's like if we had a viable alternative party, which I know that's not an easy order, that's going to be very, very difficult. But is it more difficult than what we got up against us now? I don't think so, because guess what? Voter suppression is going to happen no matter what. If it's just happening in a general where you have a viable third party option and it's the Democrat and the Republican and a third party that actually represents people, well, all of a sudden, you know, the Republicans are going to do everything they can to suppress the vote. Well, guess what? The Democrats are just going to be laying dead in the water. And this fake establishment, this fake opposition, it's not a fake establishment. It's a real establishment. It's a fake opposition. They're just going to wither away the same way that, you know, the Whigs withered away and we got the Republicans. And it took a course of 6 years. You know, I mean, I feel like history repeats itself. Sometimes it takes a really long time. Like whenever people are like, well, we haven't had a different party. And it's like, well, all the more reason why it's time. You know, at least that's what I think.
Exactly. And I like that point you made on the show a lot. Whenever we start talking about AOC or what Enter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always bring up this meme that I found, and it's a picture of a mafia. It's a picture of a mafia gang, right? And it says, "I'm going to join the mafia and try to reform it from the inside."
Right.
That's literally what joining the Democratic Party is.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Nick Brana, I like the way Nick Brana puts it too, which is kind of like along that line where he's just like, guys, we're gonna go take over Walmart. Walmart's gonna do everything differently because we're gonna take over. And it's like, dude, and this isn't. They've made it clear, they being the Democratic establishment, that they don't want you the most. Like you being the progressive, their first priority is stopping you. They've admitted that. I mean, there's footage where they're basically just like, well, it's like, I mean, especially when the primary was still going on, it's like, well, stopping Bernie is almost as big as, you know, like stopping Bernie is more important than beating Trump. I mean, they've said that on MSNBC.
Those emails. Yeah. Those emails.
It's unreal. And it's just like, why? It's like we're trying to get into a party, a kegger, where no one wants us there. They're like, we don't want you. And we're trying to find ways to sneak in. Meanwhile, the kegger sucks. It's just a bunch of people standing around, not doing anything exciting. And it's like, what if we just had our own fucking kegger and a bunch of other people who don't know where to go are going to see how cool our kegger is and show up at our kegger? And they're going to say,
got IPAs
that.
at our kegger.
We got IPAs.
Not Bud Light in our kegs.
No kidding. No kidding. That's got to be the slogan. In a land of Bud Lights, be a frickin' craft brew. I'm not a big IPA guy, so let's be a little more inclusive here, Johnny, because other people might. So we'll just say craft beer, because some people, they might prefer hefts, they might prefer lagers, they might, you know. I mean, you're the only person I drink IPAs with, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think you're the, like, I just thought of that now, like, when I think about it, because I'm not a big, I enjoy, if it's a good IPA, I'm into it. You know, I'm not like, and you always have good ones, but you're the only guy I usually end up drinking an IPA with, because that's your weapon of choice.
Oh, absolutely.
So usually when you're like, dude, let's do an, I'm like, all right, you know, because I don't dislike them. I just like, I would say hefts and lagers are like my first two go-tos. If I'm evaluating a new beer place, you know, I'll be like, do they got a good heft? Do they got a good lager? I'm going to go there first. And then an IPA, you know, I'm not a big hops guy, but when it's done well and infused well, I can totally get into it. I've enjoyed plenty of IPAs. I've not enjoyed some as well.
Right. And going back to
we don't have to agree on everything.
Going back to your kegger analogy, what I was thinking was that yeah, and even at their kegger, it's like a bunch of soulless people who just don't even pay attention to anything. They've sold out. They're capitalists. They're imperialists by not paying attention to what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure even if we told them, they wouldn't care. They'd be like, yeah, well, they're doing it for the best of our country or whatever. I don't know. Like, you know, no one cares about foreign policy. Everyone should care about foreign policy because we're literally murdering brown children and women and men across the country. I mean, across the world. And I don't know. It's a hard battle to fight, Ron, but here we are.
No, I hear you, man. And I think that, you know, kind of getting into like a bigger theme outside of the show today, like a lot of people, they don't make those connections. I mean, first of all, like when it comes to foreign policy, a lot of people just don't know what we're doing around the world. They don't know. There's so many people that it's like, and this is a result of really good propaganda by the corporate media. They don't know that we're bombing 9 countries. Or I think we're up to 9 now. It's at least 7. They don't know that. They don't know that it's like this is an empire. We're a militaristic empire.
No one ever said the word empire.
No one ever says it.
Media.
No,
they'll never say it.
Not even if they're talking about Star Wars. They won't even mention that movie. They're like original trilogy. They're like, yeah, there was the first one, and then there was Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi. That's what they do. That's how determined they are to not even go there. But yeah, I'm with you. So, people don't make those connections, and then people just, they kind of like the corporate media is a tree that keeps people's vision blocked from the forest. That's the purpose it serves. Like that's what it's there to do. That's what I think. And Omar, thank you very much. Omar says they robbed Bernie. Thank you for the super chat contribution, Omar. And then Omar goes on to say third party is the only way. I agree. Manitalk, what's up? What happens when you take money out of politics, Ron? Answer, our needs are far more attainable. Correct. Start at city and state levels first. I'm with you. We got to get the money out of politics. There's a number of things. Money out of politics, ranked choice voting. There's a number of things we can do. More election integrity. I mean, hey, how about the UN oversees our elections at this point? I mean, how many, for instances, do you need to be like, okay, we're not doing this on our own. We're not doing this over. We need oversight of this because this is nonsense. I mean, it happens every single time. It happened in every single state. It just happened in Kentucky. I'm sure there was more shenanigans in New York we haven't even heard about yet. You know, I mean, this is just, and then of course, having a viable option outside of the two-party duopoly, because they're fine with a lot of this stuff. They're fine with voter suppression. It keeps progressives out. It keeps the donor train happy. Because you have a party, the Democratic Party, their first priority isn't winning. That's not their first priority. Their first priority is making sure the status quo is upheld because that keeps the donor train rolling. So do they really care that much about gerrymandering that screws over the Democrat and not the Republican? No, they don't care that much. Some of the grassroots people who are trying to break through the mold, they care. But that's not the establishment. And that establishment's going to do everything they can to make sure you don't get a seat at the table.
They're both part of the corporate party.
They are. It's the money party, man, and you and I are not welcome in it.
No, hell no.
Thank you very much, Omar. Thank you very much, Mana Talk. Thank you all for tuning in. Johnny, where can people go to find out more about you?
So I do the engineering on the Convo couch on the 1s and 2s. Sometimes I say some stuff on there. If I want to voice my opinion, I'm allowed to. True Rebel Network is another channel that you can see here. True Rebel Network right there. Go search that up on YouTube because I just started it, and you'll see my first 2 videos was about I went and covered El Monte Police Department brutality, and this is before George Floyd. So it's just an in-depth view of how these protesters, they protested outside the sheriff department or police department, and they actually got the chief of police to actually stalk them from afar, which was really interesting.
Wow.
And then I approached him with my camera, and he just like drove away, and it was funny.
Did you tell him you were just looking to buy some fish? You should try that on him. She's been like, no, I'm looking to buy some fish off of you. I'm filming this thing.
Later on that day, they went and protested outside of Hilda Solis's house, who was the LA Board of Supervisor, who was one of the LA Board of Supervisors. And the mayor of El Monte showed up to get us out of there, which was really interesting.
So basically, True Rebel Network is kind of all the on-the-ground footage that you do, which y'all at the Convo Couch and Tina Desiree, everyone's been doing more and more of it, which is awesome. You guys brought some... I mean, the footage from the protests was amazing. A lot of stuff where I turned to a lot of the stuff you guys were uncovering. True Rebel Network is kind of a deeper dive into that stuff specifically.
Yes.
Nice.
And I eventually foresee it becoming a big network with prominent big stars who are getting the big paychecks like Ron Placone, maybe one day in the future. And we have a whole network that's way better than TYT network and not co-opted and bought out. So
I look forward to it, buddy. Thanks so much for being here. And check out the Convo Couch, check out True Rebel Network, and we'll be back tomorrow. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow, I say peace.